that I get.
Okay, I'm going to have to put the SDR on because of the noise level, so here we go.
Took me 30 years to get that thing.
Yeah, KY and I6Q flex stuff here. There's another really curious one that's pretty loud on 95. Maybe 92 would be a choice there.
I think that's a really good idea. Let's QFY to 92. QFY.
Good idea, Brian.
And I6Q.
Hello. You there? Almost there.
Hello.
Okay. Not quite on frequency, but close enough. Anybody for there's NI6Q who's number one on the list. Anybody else?
W7MS.
KJ6HN.
Anybody for the vintage?
And also WE6JKN, over.
John's deaf as always.
Thanks, Mike. KJ6HN here. Maybe you can relay.
Well, I'm just going to have to put the SDR on because I can't hear anything. Disgusting. Okay, try it now.
W7MS.
W7MS.
Go ahead.
Else?
WA6 Juliet Kilowatt, November.
Go ahead, Max. You doubled with John.
Oh, I'm sorry. KJ6HN trying to check in.
KJ6HN. And there was JKN. And what's the prefix?
Whiskey Alpha 6 Juliet Kilowatt, November.
Very good. Let me get on frequency. Hello. 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 Going the wrong way. Hello. Okay. I think I'm on frequency. Anybody else? Okay, so we got NI6Q, W7MS, WA6JKN, KJ6HN. Anybody else like to check in? Could be a small group. Why don't you say a few words, let's see, to NI6Q, and then turn it over to W7MS, and then back to me, K6KY. Brian, did you hear me? Uh-oh, what's going on?
Brian, John turned it over to you. Your turn to burn.
Yeah. There is something bizarre going on here. I don't know what it is. NI6Q here. Okay, yeah, seems to be okay. Right. Well, good to be on board, and conditions are kind of strange tonight. You know, the band is very long. Really long. I can hear the East Coast very loud, and of course, you know, Florida and Texas and all those states coming full bore. So, but the 2 or 3 I heard so far are coming in very nicely too. So there we go. 75A4 LDCO 100F tonight, and happy to be on board. Back to you, KOI. This is NI6Q. Flex stuff.
Okay, we're coming through great on the SDR, and I cannot hear you direct, and as you said, the conditions are squirrely. Kevin, I heard you direct, I think, although I'm getting confused, so I'm going to have the SDR on just in case. WA6 JKN K6KY.
Okay, John, yeah, I just checked the receiver. I'm not copying you direct at all. I heard Brian, he's coming in nice and strong on the 75A4, and I haven't heard anybody else direct yet. So got the receiver on frequency, ready to go. WE6JKN, back to you, John.
Yeah, you know, Brian, it was such a good idea to move down here because it would have been a real struggle on 95. My guess is that there are people looking for us on 95. If somebody wants to traipse up there and give an announcement, it might not be a bad idea just in case. And so what do you think about that, Mike, W7MS K6KY?
Well, it's going to be another exciting night here with propagation, but Brian wins the S-meter contest. Your S9 plus a few DBs. I can hear Kevin. He's down in the mud, but he's there, and so far Max was doing well on the initial check-in. So this may be just a challenging night, but thanks for being there. Back to you, John, W7MS.
Okay, well, I copied a little bit direct. I listened. The noise level is F7. You know, I don't know what it is about this band. It is, for me, by far the noisiest band, and there's stuff that is clearly, you know, constant electrical consumer devices, no doubt, that seem to affect 75, and thank God at least they don't affect the higher bands. That's just life. So before I turn it over to Max, let's see if anybody else might want to check in early to the Vintage Sidedown Roundtable. K6KY, come now.
Whiskey 6 Delta Quebec W6DQ and
Kilo Foxtrot 6 Quebec November Golf KF6QNG.
I got the dynamic duo. Both of you have equal signals. I wonder how that could be. Good evening to the two of you, and let's find if there's anybody else that would like to check in.
K2LMQ.
Okay, K2LMQ, Paul. Anybody else?
I got the buggy all lined out.
Well, Dennis, take one.
Okay, John, very good. Oops. Let me mute that. That might help. All right, very good. Yeah, conditions are pretty squirrely tonight. We're not hearing everyone direct. I heard some of you are hearing direct without too much trouble, but yeah, you're right. The band is long, as Brian was saying. I think it's gone long, and Brian's very loud here. Good copy. John, I cannot hear you at all direct. I'm listening to you up on KFS, and yikes. Hopefully things will go well. But it's good to be here tonight, and nice to exercise different radio tonight. So over to Lisa. Let me send it over to Lisa and let her say a few words. KF6QNG, W6DQ.
Okay, a few words. Looking forward to the roundtable this evening, so I'll send it back to you, John. K6KY from KF6QNG.
Yeah, some guy come in a little bit ago down in the noise talking, and I hear a little bit of something else.
I don't know if somebody else trying to break in or if it's just another QSO, but yes, I copy both you on KFS very well, and I see by my pen scratchings, which are hard to even decipher, that I'm
make out what you're saying.
Max. I hang my head in shame, KJ6HN, K6KY.
Some guy was trying to corner me and he wasn't even loud enough hardly to tell what he was saying.
I hope he didn't go away mad.
But he was cornering me.
Max, it's your turn.
I couldn't tell where he was
Okay.
saying.
I had myself after
I finally figured out he was giving me a...
All right, well, KJ6HN checking in here.
Early day, John. Started their damn net down on 90.
Yeah, as Dennis said,
on 90.
band is
It's
already
not
long.
on 3905. So, whatever.
And I don't know if I'm going to want to stick around for the whole
Went
thing.
on the talking.
I like to have
He tried to belly up around, but everybody was talking around. Nobody could really hear him hardly at all.
I'll listen to this for a little while longer. Good. Back over to you, John. K6KOI, KJ6HN.
Okay, I could just barely hear you in the San Francisco SDR, Max, and you were coming in fine before, so the conditions which were bad are getting perhaps even worse. It might be one of those evenings. Paul, what do you think about that? Is there anything that you can do? Maybe do a little bit of a propagation band or something? K2LNQ, K6KY.
That kind of thing.
John, K6KOI, K2LMQ. Okay, good evening all. I do not have any SDR capabilities here. So I'll do as best as I can for a while, but I'm copying you fine, and I heard Mike and Kevin in there. Okay, so that's it. I'm on the military, the 1963 military transceiver, so it is a 6-foot rack, the URC-32, and I'm running about 500 watts into the inverted V. So go ahead, John, K6KOI, K2LMQ.
Why you in the SDR call, and I do copy direct. You're one of the few stations you're direct. And my noise level is now almost S9. It's about S8.5, and you're 10 over. So we do have propagation between us. I'm running about the same power level, about a little bit less, about 450 watts. I'm using the Helicrafters SPM 300, and I'm using a V-Skip 8.14 amplifier. So let's see if we have any other brave souls that have fortitude and want to stick around under these lousy conditions. Any more check-ins, K6KY.
November 6th, Alpha Foxtrot, N6AM, John.
K2RP.
The antenna is going to transmit like to here.
N6AM. Okay, I got two of you. I got N6AX and I got K2RP Ron. Anybody else?
They'll learn someday, I guess.
Well, you know, I think if you couldn't make it into the SDR 5 or 6 miles away, Chuck, I'd give up. You are making it into San Francisco or wherever it is, KFS, N6AF. Take a transmission, K6KY.
Good evening to everybody else. I was going to make a comment. I was on 3895 and I saw you down here on the KFS. And let me take a look. I think I'm a bit stronger. I'm over S9 on northern Utah. Just if you prefer hearing me that instead of S8. But the other station, you might relay to him. I'm sure you can hear me. I think it's K6LK. On both northern Utah and KFS, you're about 12 kilohertz wide. So you're totally hammering the modulation there with your mic gain on that rig. I don't think you've used that one before. It's the first time I've heard it. Just a heads up. Back to you, John, however you want to run it. But your buddy there is running super modulation right now. K6KOI, N6AF on the KWM2, by the way.
Yeah, sounds good, Chuck. Did you say that Bill wants to check in? Does LK want to check in? Well, I don't hear him. Okay. Well, conditions are lousy. By the way, Chuck, I had more fun with Atlas today. I am still playing with the Atlas 350 and running tests and trying to get the audio a little bit better, and I'm just having a good time with it. And I was actually able to fix a board that was bad in one of the parts unit. And so that board is now working. It's the board that's got the balance modulator and 2 RF amplifiers and a mixer on it. So it's all good. Any other check-ins, early check-ins for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, K6KY?
W6YEC.
W6WH, I got you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Roger, I understand that completely.
Well, there's little ends that we're getting a list here. And Larry, you're now on it. And so let's see what my friend Ron is doing. And is it anything you can discuss over the air, Ron? K2RP, K6KY.
Oh, lots of stuff I can. Just wonder if it makes sense. I'm on the S line. I didn't turn on the amp, but I think I'm going to in between transmissions here. I got that SB102 shipped to me. The thing looks like it was brand new and never used. It's
really remarkably good shape. I haven't been able to get a hold of my friend to figure out, to ask him what shape it was in. But anyway, you're not coming through as strong as I like, but easy copy. Back to you, K6KOI, K2RP.
We're way over S9 in San Francisco, or at least in the Bay Area, Ron. Your 100 watts, barefoot is really doing quite well. So, and I'm not even sure if I talked to you direct. I kind of doubted that I might. I don't know. I didn't even check. The noise level is so obnoxious to listen to. So, before I turn it over to Larry, let me check and see if there are any more people that would like to check into the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. I think it's Larry's turn.
Well, no point in turning it over to me. I got nothing intelligent to say, but thanks for taking the early, says John, and we'll listen. Certainly quite a lot of QRM tonight. W6WUH.
W6YEC.
Larry, there's no doubt about it. It's not one of the better nights, but hey, whatever. I mentioned I'm using an STM 300. That's a little Helicrafters rig. I think one of the last, if not the last, Helicrafters transceiver that they produced. And Mike ZSR gave it to me. What a generous guy. It's fun to give away hammery equipment, and it's even more fun to receive it. So anybody else who'd like to check in, K6KOI.
W6YEC.
W6YEC, modulating the SDR quite well. George, good evening. Take a transmission. From Freehall up in the book.
Yeah, okay, John. I can hear myself on there. Probably got a little echo. I'm sorry about that. And anyway, hearing you quite well also. I'm trying to get the volume down. There we go. Looks like we've got a challenging band tonight. Thanks, John, for picking us up. Appreciate it. W6YEC.
It is challenging. There's no question about it. And I checked. I think I can copy you direct, but the noise level, and I haven't calibrated this.
Audio, 1, 2. Audio.
In terms of dBs, but it says S7.
Audio.
Constant, and it is annoying. It's like listening to a garbage disposal going all the time. Say with the stop complaining. No, I don't want to stop complaining. Stop talking to yourself. Okay. Anybody else want to check into the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, K6KOI?
WJ6W on frequency.
Somebody said on frequency and I missed it. Go again.
JK6TIM.
Hi, John.
Oh, very good, Dave. Dave, do you want to pick up the baton, as it were, and I can give you the list?
Audio.
Yeah, if you think you've run out most of the people who are going to check in, it's a lousy night tonight. We'll do what we can. I can only hear you on KFS, which is breaking up some, so I may have to get some repeats, but go ahead and give me the list.
Okay, I shall, and you're right. It's just lousy propagation, and I suspect that there are a few people who are still trying to figure out what's going on, that, why we're not on 95. So after I give you the list, I'm going to scoot over to 95 and see if there's anybody else who got left behind. So here we go. Number one on the list is Brian, NI6Q. Next one is Mike, W7MS, Mike Sugar. After Mike is Kevin, WA6JKN, and I'm going to break and see if you're with me.
Okay, KFS broke up, but I have NI6Q, W7MS, and WA6JKN. Is that good so far?
That's good. You got it. Next one is Max, KJ6HN. After Max is the dynamic dual of W6DQ, Dennis, KF6QNG, Lisa. And then, after those two, we've got K2LMQ. Break to you.
Okay, yeah, I got K2LMQ's last name, Paul.
Correct. And I forget to use Paul's name. Next we've got Chuck, N6AF. After Chuck is Ron, K2RP. After Ron is Larry, W6WUH. And the last one I've got on my list is George, W6YEC. And if you put me somewhere in the top, I don't know, 10 or so, that'd be fine. And I think if you've got those, I'm going to scoot over to 95 and see if there's anybody there.
Fuel filter.
Okay, John, I think I've got it. That's pretty rough. My receiver's about useless here, and KFS is cutting in and out. Northern Utah has QRM, so it's just a perfect night. Anyway, go ahead and check 3895, and I'll see if you pick anyone else up. Let me first check. I'd like to check propagation. Brian out in Arizona, NI6Q. Brian, give me a few words. I would like to see how the propagation is.
Great, Kevin.
Hello. Well, I guess Brian stepped away. Paul, you were pretty strong. Could you give me a few words? K2LMQ, WJ6W.
Yeah, I sure can, Dave. Thanks for taking the net, and John, thanks for taking the early. You're fine out here. Probably about 10 over 9, and heavy QSB, but you're fine, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. If I'm having trouble raising people, I wonder if you could give out a call, because you're really strong here in California. So if you could help out, possibly, I'd appreciate it. Over?
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. I'm here.
Okay, very good. Well, with that, then we'll get started. Welcome, everybody, to the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is Dave, WJ6W, in Tarzana, California, and I'm the host for this evening's roundtable. Tonight, the station I'm using is a Collins KWM2, and let's see, KWM2 and 30L1, which I need to put online. That's better. The 30L1 was in standby. Anyway, that's the station equipment, and we meet each Tuesday evening at or near 3895 kilohertz. All of us should be using equipment that was manufactured before 1981 or home built with equivalent technology. First-timers may, however, use modern equipment. So before we start, does anyone have any announcements related to the vintage single sideband radios?
How about an early check-in, K6LGL, Dave? Good evening.
Okay, K6LGL, Skip. And I didn't hear any comments, so we'll proceed. We have a question of the evening every night, and this comes from Mike K6ZSR, who was on the docket to be the host tonight. But he wisely had his granddaughter come into town, and they're going out on the town tonight. And he convinced me to take the net tonight. So he also supplied the question. So I really appreciated that. The question tonight is ham radio home brewing dying out? Why or why not? In 2 minutes or less, please. I'll repeat that because of the conditions. Is ham radio home brewing dying out? Why or why not? In 2 minutes or less, please. So, I think I'll go one station at a time tonight because of conditions. And I'm going to start with Brian, NI6Q. Brian, if you're back, it's your turn. Go ahead. This is WJ6W.
Yes, okay, WJ6W. And the group, this is NI6Q. First of all, do you copy me okay? Dave, all over?
Yeah, Brian, I'm copying you both on the radio here and on KFS, so go ahead.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, Dave. And Hello to everyone there. Well, as it happens at this moment, I'm copying everybody, so I'm pretty lucky, and it's good to be on board. Thanks for running the net, Dave. Tonight I'm running the Collins 75A4 as a receiver. The transmitter is a LDCO military transmitter, running into a 30S1 to have a little more power. All this kind of interesting night there, so there we go. All right, nothing more except the fact that when it comes to the question of the evening, I suspect it's dying out. I don't know exactly why at this point. I didn't analyze that, but it seems that home brewing and personal realizations, technical things are on the decline. That's what I think, because everything is fairly easy to get, online or else at reasonable prices, and it seems that people have little time left for special projects. So that's maybe my observation. I might be wrong. I hope I am, but who knows. So I'll pass it over, I guess, back to you, Dave, and I'll be listening with glee. So over to you. This is a nice 6Q Flagstaff.
Oh, beautiful transmission, Brian. You were 20 over here on the KWM2. I didn't have to listen to the SDR on that one, so very good. And I'm hoping the next station will be strong too, Mike. You're far enough away. Next we have Mike, W7MS. This is WJ6W.
Well, thanks, Dave. WJ6W, W7MS, Mike and Lena. Yeah, good signal. You're anywhere from S9 plus 10 plus 15. Brian was running about 20 over, so good conditions. And Paul takes the S-meter contest. He was hitting upwards to 30 over S9 on his previous transmission. So good signals. So Brian's gleeful. So that makes me excited to be here tonight. And thanks to John for handling the earlies with all the challenges present, local noise issues and propagation and on-frequency activity. So it is exciting. Welcome to late fall and winter time conditions. But this evening running the easy stuff, that's the Rockwell Collins HF 380, but I did also fire it up because it is connected to a home engineered linear amplifier that runs a Soviet-era GU84B tetrode, which is roughly, the analogy is to a 4CX 2500. I built this about 25 years ago, so that's my home build, home engineer project. And I really don't like to talk the term homebrew. That to me is crooked dymo labels and people that don't know how to use a straight edge when they lay their front panel out, but that's just my bias against that term. But yeah, obviously on the decline, it's a generational shift. I think it affects a lot of other hobbies that are kind of labor and thought intensive. It's just not amateur radio and building, but it's generally it's very, very well reflected in why at least in this town, all the hometown hobby shops disappeared. Competition from the interweb, but also the fact that that post-war generation and maybe the post-war generation, which is most of us, it's just a generational shift with newer folks. Plug and play, and when it doesn't work, you throw it in the trash can or the e-waste container, and that's it. But great conditions, and nice to hear you, Dave. Nice to hear you direct. WJ6W, W7MS.
Yeah, Mike, very good. You were a 10 to 15 over here as well. And very good on the generational shift. It certainly seems that way. I think there's, the technology is far more sophisticated than it was in the days of the radios we're running, but it is kind of throwaway stuff. Yesterday I was over at one of the few remaining electronic shops where you can find things. Went over to All Electronics I'm very lucky it's only about 15 minutes away. And, of course, they don't have nearly everything I would look for. But if you're looking for parts and wire and solder and connectors and lots of capacitors, resistors and stuff, they still have all that. So, very handy. Okay, next, let's see. Next on the list I have is Kevin, WA6JKN. It's your turn, Kevin. This is WJ6W.
Town to pick them up before they ran out of stuff, and our Walmart actually.
WJ6W, WA6JKN. Good evening, Dave. Good signal on KFS. I went and reached over and turned off the 75A4. All I was getting was static. But anyway, the rig I'm running tonight is a Collins KW Sugar 1. And well, I did have the 75A4. I turned that off, and I have KFS up so I can hear everybody. So, good evening to everybody. Want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving coming up pretty soon. And now to the question of the evening. You know, my first thought when I read it earlier today was, of course, I think it's alive and well. And here's the reason. You know, I got to looking at some of the stuff that I have here that's homebrew, and I said, well, shoot, all my wire antennas are homebrew. My antenna distribution system, for the most part, is homebrew. I do have some commercial stuff I bought, the Ameritron 5-position switchers, and I think I even have an old Heathkit switcher, but that was kind of a kit form. But for the most part, all homebrew. Coax transmission lines are all homebrew. I don't buy coax with connectors on them. I put them on myself. And of course, the antenna installation, some of it had to be, you know, some of the brackets had to be homebrew for the antenna. And of course, anybody that's ever installed a tower, you know, a lot of that had to be homebrew. And let's see what else. Most of the accessories, I remember. Why go out and buy a foam patch when you can build it yourself? How about an SWR or a power meter? Build it yourself. That's what I did here. And I'm going to finish up by saying this. Before I was allowed, and that's the word I want to emphasize, allowed to become a ham operator as a novice, my father required my brother Mike and I both to learn how and successfully build our transmitter and receiver that we were going to use as a novice. So the whole journey of ham radio started off by homebrew. Okay, that's it. Oh, back to you, Dave. Thank you for taking the night. Sorry about that, Dave. I'm just getting old by the minute. Back to you, WA6JKN.
Okay, Kevin. Well, that was the propagation was very strange there. I couldn't hear you on my receiver, and you were weak on both of the SDRs. Very weird. You should have been good into one of them, but that's just the way it is. Anyway, I got all that, I think, and yeah, there are, you know, kits out there, too. I guess that's not exactly homebrew, but like linear amp kits, and transceiver kits, and things like that, you know, QRP types I know of. But anyway, I guess it's changed direction. And I, like you, my home control system is all homebrew here, and the antenna switches are homebrew. The antennas are homebrew, so that part of it, yeah, is homebrew stuff. Okay, let's see. Skip, I don't need any help, please, unless I ask for it. Paul K2LMQ probably has the best reception of anyone for listening to people in California, so he volunteered to help me. Okay, is there anyone else who wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable? Come now. He snuck out. Well, I think there were a couple in there, but I didn't get either of them. Let's try again.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Juliet, India, Bravo, Bob and La Cañada.
A little bit, you know. I knew how Mike tries himself because he walks with a leash. You put a leash on him. Okay, I got WA9JIB Bob and WB6RLC. So, I was able to pull you out. On a terrible night. Okay, but I did get you guys. Okay, let's continue on. Next we have Max, KJ68N. It's your turn. Go ahead.
I was really shocked.
Alrighty, KJ68N here. This is really a long band, and I'm getting hammered with QRM from the southeast. So, assuming folks can copy me, and K2LMQ, you were 20 over here into Darwin. Mike, you were about the same. I was watching my S meter, and nobody else comes close. So I'll keep it short, and then I'm going to check out. This is not fun for me. So is ham radio homebrewing dying out? Well, the ham radio I remember when I was a kid in my teens, I think is dying out. People are not building complete radio transmitters or receivers from war surplus or scratch components. All my radio station gear is old, and I maintain it. I've got an HP spectrum analyzer, and I've got other gear to make sure the signals are clean. But as far as home brewing from scratch, you know, it seems like the older we get, the more time it takes, and time is precious. So I believe I agree with Brian in number one that home brewing complete radios is dying out, and number two, I hope I'm wrong, just like Brian, but I suspect that it is. So that's what I think about that, and I've pretty much used up my 2 minutes or less. So I'll listen out and see if the propagation improves for a few more stations, and after that, it doesn't, I'm just going to check out. Sorry about that. Would that the band conditions were nicer. Back over to you, Dave. WJ6W from KJ68N.
Okay, thank you, Max. Very good. I got you and got your comments noted there, so thanks. Let's see, John, K6KOI, our earlies guy tonight. John, if you're copying me, why don't you go and take your turn?
Boxery or different stuff, but my gosh, you can't hardly be.
John, K6KY, do you copy?
He decides he don't want to do it.
K2LMQ, I wonder if you could call John, K6KOI, and tell him it's his turn, okay?
Enough of this game.
Yeah, sure. John, K6KOI. Calling John, K6KOI. This is K2LMQ. You're up now. Go ahead.
Already just nipped it.
1, 2. You know what? I responded right away that it was on the wrong frequency. And I'm not on the right frequency now, but I'm close enough. No, what happened is I went to 95 to see if anybody else wanted to join us, and I forgot. I was just listening to the SDR. I forgot to bring the transceiver back here. So, old age. Tonight I'm on the Helicopter's STM 300 and the HA14 amplifier, and I'm proud to say the power supply for the HA14 is homebrew. It came to me as an orphan without a power supply, and I just happened to get COVID. This was back in March of 2020, and so I was here quarantined for 14 days at that time. And I thought, well, I'm going to do a project. And I built the power supply for my orphaned HA14, and it works great. I'm just sitting right now, right next to it. And it is in a case that was donated to me. It used to be a little amplifier. Now it's a power supply case. It has a big toroid instead of a traditional transformer. And
like yours.
So that's my contribution, and I've done a couple of amplifiers, and that's about it.
Nice.
I got late in the game to homebrewing, and at this point, I really am not doing any more, but I am having fun with older rigs and like the rest of us, trying to restore them and such. And I do have a thought or two about the generational change and such. I think there is a quote homebrewing going on, but it's called computer hacking, and that's what the younger generation does, and they seem to do it rather well. So back over to you there, and thank you so much, Mike, Dave, for taking Mike's position and running the roundtable on WJ6W, K6KOI.
Come down to it with the dog.
Okay, John.
He turned it over to you. I can barely copy him, Dave, but he just turned it over to you.
You had that situation, and said you made good use of it, and you're holding up your end on home brewing, so very good. Okay, let's see. Next, I have the dynamic duo W6DQ Dennis, and then it goes to Lisa KF6QNG. Go ahead, guys. This is WJ6W.
As soon as I do that, he'll stay.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much. WJ6W in the vintage single sideband roundtable. W6DQ here, Denison in Kern, where tonight we're running the S-Line 32S3 Alpha, 75S3C with the 30S1, and we're talking on an SM3 microphone going out to the inverted V up about 55 feet. So that's the rundown here. Well, Dave, that's an interesting question, and there's a lot of aspects to that when you talk about home brewing. I do believe there is actually a lot of home brewing going on. It's just not what we consider traditional amateur radio home brewing, the stuff that we did years ago. And part of that is because the availability of components. And I know, somebody who would be a great person to talk tonight would be Mike KG7TR to hear about his exploits with a lot of his homebrew gear. But and I know he did make that post on the reflector, which was kind of nice. It was good to see that. But yeah, getting parts, you try to find the kind of stuff you want to homebrew, you want to be able to get your hands around. So it's going to tend to be larger components, which are harder to find. A lot of the old components that you can find on eBay and at swap meets and what have you. So I've managed to squirrel away a lot of stuff for my homebrew projects. But a lot of my homebrew projects these days are all more modern technology, using microcontrollers and surface mount and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's a lot of that going on. We just don't see it all. But yeah, traditional things like building antennas, we do that. I think there's a lot of that still going on. That is not going to stop. We can become system integrators, which is another form of home brewing, and that's what I consider myself these days as a system integrator, which is what I did for most of my professional career, was system engineering and system integration. So where you put all the pieces together and make sure they all work together, and that includes things like antenna switching and figuring out how to make all that stuff work. So interesting topic. But yeah, I think as Mike MS said, generational issue, there's a lot of that going on. And you'll find that most of the young people who are doing anything with what we would traditionally call homebrewing are doing things with microcontrollers, robotics, and things like that. So there's a lot of that going on. But not that I'm discounting that. I think it's great that stuff is going on. We need that. But I wish there was more of it in amateur radio. But, if you follow QEX, it's a minority. QEX has a lot of stuff in there that's home-built. I mean, that's what that's about. And if you read QEX, you'll see articles every month on building stuff. So not so much the complicated stuff that used to be complex projects that used to be in QST years ago. Those have become all, to use the expression, dumbed down. Anything that's in QST tends to be fairly simplistic anymore, unfortunately. But QEX is the other way to go. Anyway. Dave, great question. Copying you just fine on KFS, not so on direct. You're there, but you're not as easy to listen to on the direct route. But appreciate you taking the roundtable tonight for Mike, and John, appreciate you taking the earlies, and I'm going to hand it over to Lisa, KF6QNG and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable, W6DQ.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Dave, for taking the roundtable this evening, and to John for taking the earlies. Well, don't have an answer to the question, so anyway, just wish everyone a great evening, happy Thanksgiving, and those traveling, hope your travels are safe. So with that, I'm going to send it back to Dave, WJ6W from KF6QNG.
Okay, Lisa and Dennis, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else on the roundtable tonight. Yes, that's coming right up. So thanks for your comments there, David. Dennis, I'm David. Yeah, systems integrator. Well, that's what my profession is too, and I guess that's a lot of what I do around here now that I think about it. Putting together all the various things that I buy and making them work together with some home brewing of the glue that puts things together along the way. So, and you mentioned Mike KG7PR. He did send out a note, and for those who didn't read it, I'll read just sections of it here. He said that, boy, I wish I could check in for that question, but I'm down in Phoenix for the winter, and there's no way to put up an antenna. So maybe I'll listen on the SDR, and Mike, I hope you are listening. He said that he had hoped that people would, I'm paraphrasing, would become interested in some of these things that he had designed. He had published a lot of technical details about his wonderful radios that he'd built, but there's a couple of guys, the only ones he knows of is a couple of guys who had taken a stab at his 2x813 linear. So he thinks that where tube radios are concerned, home brewing is definitely dying out. And why? Well, this is interesting. Well, consider the average age of the tube radio enthusiast. We've run that question by the roundtable before. Home brewing can require patience, good eyesight, and steady hands. Three good points. Plus, finding parts can be a challenge, and a lot of us are starting to downsize collections. And there are probably many other reasons. So anyway, I think Mike had a nice contribution tonight, even though he couldn't be here. So next on the list, I have Paul, who you were just roaring in here so far. K2LMQ, WJ6W.
WJ6W and the Vintage Sideband Group, K2LMQ, Paul and Kingman. Okay, well, you're the strong signal here, and with you, at times you disappear, but you seem to come back strong. But most of the other stations I can't hear at all here, Dave. Anyway, I'm running the Collins URC-32, which was used on supply ships and what have you in the 1960s, and I'm running the transmitter. It's a one unit. It's 6 feet tall, and it's running about 500 watts peak right now. And I love it. It has the pencil tubes in it and everything in it. It works really nice. I really enjoy this rig. As far as the home brewing goes, I'm not anywhere near the technical expertise of most of you guys, or probably all for that matter, but I have done my share of antenna work, different kinds of antennas for the low bands, and built a few antenna couplers and what have you, and that's been about the extent of it. And I would do it again now if I needed it, but everything seems to be working out real good. I think with the problem I I think it is dying down. I think there is a general the new guys are not as enthusiastic about doing things with their hands as we were at that age, you know, with the model trains and planes and radios, and you know, we were all monkeying around with one or two hobbies, working with our hands and loving it. And anymore, all they want to do is get on their cell phone or what have you and play games and chat. So we got that along with the fact that, you know, overall it is a generational change, and it is what it is, and thank God it's still here and strong enough for us to get the parts that we need for the most part. And at this stage of my life, I'm still loving it. It's been 67 years I've been hamming now. So, Dave, back to you, and thanks for a very interesting evening here. I'll hang in for a while. I don't know how much I can help, but I will if needed. WJ6W, K2LMQ, and happy Thanksgiving to all.
Okay, Paul, thank you. K2LMQ, same to you. Yes, probably you're right about folks these days less interested in constructing things with their hands. Of course, it always takes some assembly to put together a ham radio station, so you have to have that level of interest at least. So, let's see, anybody else, is there anyone else out there who wants to get on the list now? Let me switch on the SDR. Anyone else who wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, come now.
N4DLA, November 4, Delta, Lima, Alpha.
Okay, I got N4DLA. Anybody else?
Set the glass on.
I think there was somebody in there. I missed it again. Go ahead.
I heard earlier, WI6R, Dave.
Okay, nothing heard. So let's continue on. Chuck, N6AF, it's your turn, WJ6W.
All right, very good. Thanks for that. I mentioned this before the net officially started, but just constructive feedback on LMQ on my receiver direct in Redwood City and on northern Utah and on KFS. The signal was splattering about up to 16 kilohertz. So just take a look at that. And it wasn't that strong even on my receiver, but still could hear it quite a ways up there. So anyway, again, just camaraderie and constructive feedback. I probably sound terrible. I'm using my 1963 KWM2, and that's into I would call it a partially homebrewed solid-state amp. That's everything's kind of backed off. I'm running about 300 watts out to the off-center fed dipole. So that's the story there. So on the question of the evening, let me see. I just wanted to state the distinction between building from existing designs or existing schematics versus designing from scratch and then building it. As far as that's, I guess you might call that the ultimate home brewing, to do your own electronic design, come up with the schematic, and then actually build it. I've done that, and I've built a lot of radios from existing designs. I have a single 3500Z project in a box here. It's been in queue for about 3 years now behind a bunch of boat anchor repairs. And that's going to be based on the AL80B, basically, or as people know, the SB 1000 cheese kit amp, which is really the same thing. So grounded grid 3500Z. So I'm still putting stuff together, but I'm sorry to report in my view, home brewing is dying out, and I think there's a couple of reasons. And one of them is just that for the state-of-the-art and most feature-rich designs, you're looking at SDR and specialized DSPs, and this newer technology is preferred, but it's just not a technology that most people would be home brewing. You know, let's all write our own code for our FIR filters and compare notes next week and see whose receiver works the best. You know what I mean? The other reason is that I think that unfortunately it might be a reflection of a change in humanity. In the technical world and in every other aspect, it's just this sort of, I want everything instantly, instant gratification, you know, buy it, if it doesn't work, throw it away. I think even some of the millennial crowd may even treat marriage that way. But I'm an old timer, and, you know, I like building old stuff and putting it together. I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. So, anyway, I've got my 3500Z project to look forward to, and I sure like repairing old boat anchors and getting them to work. That's, to me, more satisfying than firing up my K3 and running it through a big amp into a 4-element tri-bander. You know, where's the challenge, right? All right, over to K2RP to take it in 6 a.m.
Okay, Chuck, thanks. Let me see. Ron, K2RP. K2RP, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Put the phone to him.
Okay, I guess Ron is checked out for the evening. The next I have on the list, by the way, Chuck, two interesting reasons there for the home brewing dying out. Yeah, probably some validity there. Okay, Larry, it's your turn. W6WUH if you're copying. This is WJ6W.
Oh, yeah, I copy fine. The only people I don't copy well are people close in. Guy down in Salinas was S3 and Mike MS was S5, but I'm copying everybody else, and that's just because the band is very long. Well, in my view, home brewing was pretty much dead 40 years ago, with a few exceptions. And last station just touched on it. The guys who are still home brewing are the guys who are basically doing R&D and developing a circuit or developing a product. A lot of the home brewing ends up being small-scale kits that we can buy, like the antenna analyzers that have come from Germany and things like that. I think a lot of the home brewing now is going into things that can be reproduced as kits, and so. But that's my view. I don't read QEX. I don't even read QST anymore. So I'm not in touch with what's being published. But the reason I say that it died out 40 or 50 years ago is simple economics and technology. Home brewing was a very big deal in the 30s and 40s because it was the only game in town. Unless you were very rich, you had to build. And as production equipment that came along post-war, guys who had the money or were willing to save or borrow bought new stuff. But in the 50s, you bought a Valiant transmitter and a Hammerland receiver, and you were looking at $1,000. And that was 85 times the minimum wage or more. And today you can buy a good transceiver for 30 or 40 times the minimum wage if you buy it new. But we have such a glut of used equipment from tube type stuff all the way through solid state and now even surface mount large scale integration stuff that you can buy cheap, and it's all built by robots. So there's no economic incentive to homebrew. There really isn't. The only thing is that people who have the intellectual skills and the mechanical and technical skills to develop something and build it, prototype it and build it will do so. But those are very rare folk, and so what can you say? So I think that's the gist of it. It's really economics, and a lot of the energy and skill that could have been devoted to home brewing stuff is now devoted to restoring and maintaining stuff. We've got a huge backlog of older equipment that wants to be serviced, and all of us like to restore it and put it on the air and use it. And same even with solid state stuff, and we're starting to see plenty of discrete transistor stuff that needs some serious work now. So a lot of that energy and a lot of that skill is going into doing that kind of thing. And so I think those things all add up to not much home brewing, with the exception of power supplies, antennas, cables, stuff that we fabricate custom because we need it to make our installations go. But I know that's what I think. Anyway, however, there are guys who, are playing with completely different set of building blocks that I'm familiar with that are making, Raspberry Pi and Arduino-based things, and there are plenty of people who apparently are putting their creative energy into home brewing with those kinds of complex building blocks. So that's a whole other world I don't know about, but I know there's plenty of people that are doing it, and that's where I think most of that energy is now. But, the sheet metal brake, drill press, score and deburr holes, tube, what am I trying to say? Chassis punch kind of home brewing. I don't know. There never was much of it in my lifetime, and it's hard to get the tools and the skills and the oomph to do it. Back to you, Dave. WJ6W, W6WUH.
Okay, Larry, very good. Well, that's some interesting points you made there. And I like the one about products being developed by hams that become marketable. And, in today's world, that's more easy to do. I was thinking of an example might be the Mercury linear amplifier that's very popular now. I think that was invented or inspired by a ham, and it's become a real popular kit for a linear amp. Anyway, I better move along here. George, it's your next. W6YEC, WJ6W.
Or Spencer, whatever damn antenna he's running now. Took his antennas all down and wound.
Okay, very good. Dave and everybody else, W6YEC. Good evening to one and all, and a happy Thanksgiving as we're thinking about it. We're running the TS520 Sugar tonight, driving a 30L1 amplifier and MC50 microphone for about 700 watts or so, listening on KFS on my iPad. Well, let me give. I have three thoughts, but before I give them, let me just mention that I kind of went around the room. I thought, gee, I haven't thought about it, so I went around the room here, and including the workbench, and I have 8 pieces of home brew. 8 pieces of home brew. We've got the a homebrew power supply I've had for years, and a frequency standard on the bench, and a screen modulator for my Viking Adventure, and then a tri-band transceiver and its power supply, and then a homebrew 160-meter transceiver, an AM modulator and power supply that modulated my DX20, which is still, it's on the shelf but could be used. So anyway, but it's fading out, obviously, and as has been mentioned, number one, personally, on a personal level, my personal level, age and time has all been mentioned, and so it's the day of the past, and don't have anything in mind on home brewing. Number two is the interest of the modern ham, which again has been covered in other ways of saying it. The interest of those getting into ham radio today is emergency communication and digital and all that kind of stuff. And then thirdly, I would mention junk boxes. You know, that was an inspiration of the whole brewing. Over the years, you collect stuff and you have the junk box. Yeah, I think I'll go to my junk box and see what I can put together. And then maybe have to order a part here and there. And of course, it's a little more challenging on the availability of parts, although they are there. So that's my thought, Dave. Back to you, WJ6W and W6YEC.
Yep, okay, George, thank you very much. Yeah, some good points there. On the junk boxes, and where you would have a well-stocked junk box, you could build something up from it. Okay, next we have Skip, K6LGL, WJ6W.
Okay, thank you, Dave. WJ6W, our host for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Good evening from Skip in Santa Monica, K6LGL, running my 902DM right now. Overall,
diesel horns,
let's clarify what they mean by home brew. I think by today's standards means assembled at home.
Grill loose to
whether
get in there to mount it.
Engineered or not, most often it is not. It's probably limited to building antennas, you know, for a particular application. We're talking low band, below 10 meters. Kits pertaining to our Arduino and other things. There is a active community. I think the APX 26, the protocol that deals with using digital modes and related to digital modes and the kits. But it's mostly involved copying code and then applying it to your DAT. But there are people who are building some things on it. But it's mostly limited to perhaps to antennas and that, maybe microphone switching circuits, antenna switching circuits. Many people are not even assembling their coaxial cables. Most of us, you know, can solder up SMA connectors and the standard SO238 and HN and so on. But that's because of my VHF, UHF, and microwave work. Where the real amateur work is still being done home brewing is above 23 centimeters. It's, you know, 2400 and higher. There's still a lot of 10 meter, not 10 meter, but 10,000 gigs, so 10 gigs, 3 centimeter. A lot of that stuff is still homebrew and modified commercial and other stuff. That's where the homebrewing is occurring, is on the millimeter waves. That's where the real homebrewing is still going on. That and some limited and digital modes there. But in the low band, the big burst was, I think, I disagree a little bit with you there, WUH, Larry. There was a lot of home brewing or related in conversion in the 50s up to the time the sideband began to push out AM. All the World War II and some Korean War surplus was an easy way to get on the air, and the modifications, thanks to various different manuals and so on, anything from Mark 5's BC 348 and, you know, the old BC 610s and all this other stuff. This was reassembled and reworked. And of course, most of us are part of that generation. That's what I was on the air with, including 2 meters and above, mostly war surplus, and then I built my own equipment there. So there you go. But unfortunately, the real home brewing with design and even trying your own is a dying art. We live in a plug-and-play world where you do something and then we throw it away and dispose of it. So there you go. Best of 73s and happy Thanksgiving to all. Very nice signal there from you, Larry, and Chuck, and 6AF, and you too, Paul, K2LMQ. So back to you there, Dave. Hope you can copy my little peanut whistle. Enjoy that, and we'll see you on AM there on Wednesday. WJ6W. And the Vintage Side Bayonet, K6 Little Green Light, Santa Monica by the Bay.
Okay, Skip, thank you. K6 LGL, WJ6W. That's a good point about the surplus. That was a cheap way to get into ham radio back after World War II. And I think it was also that allowed Heathkit to get started with very cheap parts. They had got a ton of tons, I guess, literally tons of parts from military surplus, and that enabled that famous company to get going. Okay, next we have Bob, WA9JIB, WJ6W.
Okay, Dave, WJ6W in the group, WA9JIB, Bob over here in La Cañada on the Yesu station tonight. Surprisingly, I am hearing most everybody, but not really copying a lot of them. Like I could hear that Skip was in there, Dennis and Lisa, but I could not really copy them. Strongest stations, K2LMQ, 40 over, and 6AF, 30 over, WUH, somewhere in that range to 20 to 30 over. So you need about, I guess, 500 miles of distance, but you're coming in pretty good, Dave. Anyway, I'm running the Yesu station tonight, FT10E, barefoot to my inverted V dipole hanging off a 35-foot mast. Okay, yeah, well, so I don't know what a lot of other people have answered, but I suspect that home brewing is not what it used to be, probably for a lot of the reasons that I didn't hear, and certainly for some of the reasons that I did hear. I'll add one philosophical twist. So, when we all started in this hobby as youngins, there was this huge gulf of unfulfillment between what we wanted, what we could do, and what we could have. And crossing that gulf involved, over the years, learning and building and acquiring. And I think at this point, most of us have learned what we set out to learn, done a lot of what we set out to do, and acquired what we set out to acquire. I mean, I have my Hallicrafter's Dream Station, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just a natural course of life. At the start, you have this huge kind of unfulfillment, and much later on, you have this sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. And a lot of us are there. But, there are always new challenges. I don't want to end pessimistic. There's bands I've never been on, for example, and there's learning involved, building. I might need to build something to get on, antenna-wise, to get onto 160, 60 meters. I've never been on 220 or 440. So there is always something new to do, and you can always get that feeling of starting over again. But when you get it, you have all this unfulfillment again, and then you go through that arc of learning, acquiring, and doing. Anyway, not to get too philosophical, that's my contribution, Dave. WJ6W, WA9JIB.
Okay, Bob, very good. Well, thanks for your opinions there, and believe it or not, I was able to copy you very well on the radio locally here. I think you're the only one, in the LA area, Southern California, that I could copy locally. Okay, moving on. We have Glenn, WB6RLC. It's your turn.
But what did you say, Frank?
All righty. Well, thanks very much. Glenn here, Cathedral City, next burg over from Palm Springs.
let's see, yeah. Something's going on with my
supposed to be where you can run some to do. They put something in, added something to it so it would access the digital.
Yeah, I copy you. It's not too strong, but I copy you, Glenn.
A lot of extra stuff. You can access everything with it. But I thought, like I say, it would work on all the, repeaters and all that.
Well, if it's just the 991 that was converted to a thing, I don't think it does all. It does the C4 and 2,
question.
which is
I kind of agree. A lot of this is kind of on to like what Dennis was saying, with microprocessors. Maybe, we're not building punching holes in chassis.
Just like that
Kids are doing projects with Arduinos. Kids are putting up cube stacks.
TD300 or whatever.
I really don't think some people were kind of bad-mouthing,
I didn't think that original first one did.
And stuff, well, they're probably not ham radio operators. And, and it's just a generational thing like somebody else had. I'm sure the old guys that pounded brass, the kids picked up microphones on AM. Man, the damn kids. And then the old AMers, well, I remember those days. Bad mouth from the single sideband people. So, and now everything's, digital and microprocessored, and that's just kind of the way it is. That's the way things have been going. So, it is what it is. So anyway, I guess that's about it. That's about all I got. Back to you, Dave. WB6WWB6RLC.
Okay, Glenn, thank you very much. And yes, we're in a microprocessor world, aren't we? Okay, the last one I have on the list is Matthew, N4DLA. It's your turn. Go ahead. This is WJ6W.
Thank you very much, WJ6W from N4DLA. Matthew in Orinda, California, about 15 miles east of San Francisco. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And using the Atlas 210X with the Shure 444 microphone into a 75-meter coaxial dipole. We had, tonight's the answer is, I'll start off with a quote from Thomas Edison. To invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. And echoing on what Skip K6LGL said about the very high end of the amateur allocations in homebrewing, it's also true for the very low end. So if you want to get high, you can go low, which means you can go on the 630-meter band. And those who are on there, there's very little commercial equipment or anything to be able to be converted over to 630. So the people on there are home brewing. My home brewing experience is up from the plug-and-play generation. Consists of taking a vintage 1999 Radio Shack answering machine that broke a month after its warranty was over, and converting it to a Morse code practice oscillator. So that might be a future question of the evening. Have you taken one piece of equipment and repurposed it for something else? Unless that's been offered before. So anyway, also Art of Home Brewing with the educational system in its current state, as well as demographics, is just not happening. But fortunately, I grew up in an inventor's environment. My father, KF6CVA, has multiple patents, but they're related to biomedical electronics, not radio electronics. So we didn't do much inventing on that side, but like Skip said, it's all happening at the extremes of the allocations, either up high or down low. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. WJ6W from N4DLA.
Okay, Matthew, very good. Thank you very much. And well, that was interesting, changing an answering machine into a code oscillator, and that could be an interesting question of the evening in the future. I don't remember a question like that. Anyway, well, with that, that's the last I have on the list. With that, we'll close the Vintage Sideband Roundtable for tonight. And, the Golden Cup Award. I think I will give that to Larry, W6WUH. Some very interesting ideas. One was that homebrewing was dead 40 years ago. I don't know about that. But today, a lot of it's being turned into products. And in the past, the home brewing was really the most economical way to get into ham radio, not counting surplus stuff. So anyway, Larry, I'll turn it over to you for your acceptance of the award, W6WUH, WJ6W.
WJ6W, W6WUH. Well, thank you, Dave. I think, like Skip said, it kind of depends on how you define home brewing, and I hadn't even considered the surplus conversion angle of it, which, of course, we all did. It's how we all got started, I think, pretty much. But I thank you much. It's a multifaceted question, and what you consider home brewing kind of determines what you think the answer is. Thanks, Dave. W6WUH.
Okay, very good, Larry. And I'd give the runner-up to Mike, KG6TR, but he wasn't here tonight. Hopefully you're listening, Mike. KG7TR, excuse me, Mike, our homebrew king, and he had some good points about why it might be dying out. So, okay, well, with that, we'll end the roundtable tonight, and thank everyone for their participation. This is WJ6W, and the frequency is clear. Good night.